E é importante frisar que, ao participar desse evento, você concede à editora autorização gratuita para o uso de sua imagem, nome, interpretação e voz, permitindo que a reunião seja gravada para posterior utilização ou exibição a qualquer tempo e lugar a critério de editora. Então, é só uma mensagem padrão ali. The purpose of the TKT CLIL for discussion is to talk about assessment. I will mediate the meeting. However, I would like you to participate and share your experiences. I'll be asking for volunteers to answer some questions. To get a chance to talk, you can either raise your hand, you can just open up your mic, it's fine. We have a very selected group here, so you're more than welcome to do however you feel more comfortable with. Our time frame is from 5 to 6:30, I believe. I think there is a mistake here, but I think it's until 6:30. And at the end of the meeting, there will be a link for you to get your certificates of participation. So let's recap. What do you remember about all the things that we have seen so far? And the focus of assessment will be those three. Focus of assessment, types of assessment, and support strategies. Let me ask you something. From all of you here, who was able to finish the course at Canton before coming here to this debate?
I finished the test yesterday. Yeah.
So it's fresh in your memory. And Paula, yes, great. It's okay, Carolina, if you haven't been able to finish, you can do it later.
Yes, I'm still doing it.
Okay, no problem. So what would you say is focus of assessment? Who can help me identify or explain this sentence? No one? Okay, types of assessment. Is it easier to say? Support strategies.
Hey, Natalia, don't ask us like hard questions. Yes. Yes. Okay, it's so fresh in my mind, yeah, that okay, I did not have time to assimilate the idea, yeah.
Maybe focus is about what do you want to evaluate? What do you want to know about the student when you're doing the assess or applying the assessment? Maybe something like this.
You're going in the right direction. But let's see. Focus of assessment is when we are talking about CLIL, what should be focus of assessment? Should it be content, language, or both? Focus means the detail of what I'm asking.
I think, okay, in my opinion, yeah, it should be like content, yes, and like, of course, I cannot like leave the language behind. I also have to access. To assess, sorry, yeah, to assess.
Caroline, do you think the same?
I think it's both. Both.
Both. Ana Paula, what do you think?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question, please?
When we are thinking about focus of assessment, should we focus on
I
content, language, or both?
I believe depends on what you want to evaluate both. Having CLIL in mind, you can evaluate both. But sometimes you can focus more on the language. Depends what you want to know. If it's a progress evaluation or it's a summary evaluation.
Okay. Focus of assessment. Assessment can focus on areas of subject content, such as answers to math questions, use of conditioning forms and hypotheses, or on areas of content and language, such as those used in the description of a process, sequencing, tense verbs, and all. So CLIL assessment can also focus on communication skills, cognitive skills, practical skills, and study skills. Focus of assessment. All of those are focus of assessment. So content, language, or both. Subject is important. Content and language is important. This material is important. Language, the connective in this case, and now a volunteer. Regarding assessment, learners should only find out what they are being assessed on the day of the test. Do you agree with the sentence or you disagree with the sentence? Who can help me with this? Okay, the people who raised the hand.
Yes, I think in every class, I think every new situation, you should prepare students beforehand. So nothing has like to be a surprise for them. Even like when we are assessing students, so they have to be prepared for everything.
Okay. Does anyone have a different view from what Alex mentioned? Or would you like to complement? Okay,
I think review is, can I?
sure. Yes.
Internet connection is terrible, okay? But I'm continue. May I?
Yes.
So, as I was saying, depends of the type of evaluation you're going to do or the type of assessment you want to achieve. So, for example, sometimes you can make a quick test or a task to evaluate what, for example, So this is going to be for them a kind of surprise, right? But you are waiting for know what they have our then what they have acquired about the previous subject. I mean, they're making myself clear.
I think so. At some point, your mic was a little bit off, but I think we got the idea. I think it's interesting, Ana Paula, what you said. And I have another statement here. To be able to assess CLIL effectively, we need to put learners at the center of the process and to find out what standards are achievable when they study subject content in a non-native language. We need to be aware of the language levels and the language needs of our learners in different curricular studies subjects, sorry. It is also important that the learner are aware of what the focus of the assessment is. So we try to create a test sometimes that is going to be a complete full of surprises for the students. But that's not the point of a test. A test is just check to see if the students learned what they have already seen. There shouldn't be any other surprises in the test. Do you agree with me? So
Yep.
Someone wants to say something? No? Okay. I have here an activity. It's a Mentimeter.
Can you go back a little just to watch?
Sorry?
Can you go back to the previous slide? Okay. I've just entered.
I put a link on the website here on the chat for you to click on it. And just so I have an idea about your time,
Okay.
time with teaching English. So can you click it and answer, please? So far, we have only one person who answered.
I'm trying to open the link. It's not working. I think my computer's too slow.
Try to copy and paste to the browser instead of only clicking on the link.
I wrote the link, and the question that showed me was not this, was a question about who's the best person in the world. The question was not the same for me.
Yeah, I just copied the link and I opened and that on Google Chrome. Yeah, and it worked.
Okay, the people who didn't answer, who couldn't answer, do you have 1 year, 2 to 4 years, or more than 4 years?
Wait,
Sorry?
Can I see the code again, please?
Sure. The code is in the chat. It's 47 11 31 75.
that is after open the link, right?
Yeah. Answered in the chat, 20 years, 19 years. Wow. You have very experienced teachers here. It's really nice. Uh, Question now, talking about assessment, is why do we why? And I want a volunteer to maybe open your mic and tell me what your thoughts are.
For many reasons, we can use the assessments to evaluate our own work if our classes are achieving the students the way that we want, the way they were expecting, if they're learning, and if we need to change something. Also, to know what they are really learning.
For me, it's like a feedback. Yeah, it's time for feedback from to give feedback. Yes, to receive feedback from students if they are going like in the right way. Yeah, if they need to change or focus on something. Yeah.
Great contribution, guys. Anything else? So maybe one of the reasons we do it is to find out what learners know about our subject, or the strengths and areas for improvement in subject content and use of the language in order to give learners feedback. So that's what we heard here. People said feedback. Find out motives, what motivates our learners, right? Monitor progress in thinking skills, practical skills, learning, identify support strategies needed, encourage learners about their progress in learning content and language, find out if our planning and teaching subject content have been effective, inform colleagues, parents, and authorities, and give them a qualification at the end of a course. This is our guideline as to why we assess students. This is very important for us to know. And of course, could be a combination of all of those strategies, and we need to consider this when we assess. Let's do an activity of matching. We have the learning outcome and the criteria for assessing the outcome. Which one is letter A? Which one is letter D? I'll give you a few seconds to think about before you answer it. Do we have an answer?
Number 2 is B.
Number 2 is B. So number 1 is A. Does everyone agree with who said it, Carol?
Yes. I'm not accessing the chat. I don't know why it says I was trying to write in the chat, but it's saying that I don't have access to it.
Too bad.
I don't know.
But we have here Carol's suggestion is number 1, letter A, number 2 is letter B. Do you agree with her?
Yes, I agree.
A to B, A. Yes, people on the chats are saying the same thing. So that's the answer. The learning outcome is the learner is able to explain the stages of the water cycle. That's the outcome. But the criteria for assessing the outcome is much bigger, it's much more staged. The number of stages of water cycle the learner explained correctly, and then the learner's ability to link the stages is broad. There are many more items to consider when you're thinking about criteria. Okay, Caroline is answering here because the learning outcome will be the result after learning. Yeah, perfect. And then we have here some options. These are criteria, and I want to know which one is related to attitudes to learning, communication skills, cognitive skills, and craziness. From those here, how can we match?
Hey, Natalia, do we have like to make like the match, for example, responds to questions about subject content, open or closed. So we have to say this one is attitude, communication, cognitive, craziness. Yeah. Okay.
Let's do it together. They respond to questions about subject content. Where would this fit? Is it attitude, communication, cognitive, or craziness? Could we say communication skills? Since you have to respond to questions
I think it's communication skills B, maybe.
I said like attitudes of learning because it shows that you learned something. Yes, that you, if you are able to respond to a question, yes, it shows that you learned something.
So you think it's
And I
attitude?
would say cognitive skills because you need to think about something to respond, no?
Okay, nicely done. I hear both sides, the 3/4 sides, but let's continue and go on with the others to see if we have a pattern to find. Introduce new ideas about the subject. What is it? This is attitude, communication, cognitive, C, A. Introducing new ideas, I like it better when it's attitude to learning, like you're opening yourself up for new ideas. But if you consider its cognitive skills, can be asking for clarification of subject content.
Maybe letter A, attitudes to learn.
Asking for clarification of attitude to learning. Express support for others' ideas. Communication. C. Clarify on points. Attitudes to learning. Respond to peers by challenging ideas. Challenging ideas. Say C, cognitive. Report back main ideas of discussion. Caroline, I see you. Alex, think is A and C when you report back main ideas of discussion.
Still thinking.
I'll give it a B.
B. Report back communication.
Because we're checking if the person is able to use the language in the context to repeat something that I've already said. It's like reporting, right? Reporting speech.
And giving an oral presentation.
That is B2, I think.
B. B.
Now let's see. Attitudes to learning communication skills and cognitive skills. It's the same idea, but I have here other criteria. Concentrate. You can match concentrate to what? Cognitive.
Uh-huh. A.
I would say can be A as well. When you concentrate, you are changing your mindset, you're changing your attitude to what you are about to receive. So I'm more inclined to say it's letter A, but I don't disagree with letter C as well. I see your point. Work systematically.
C, I think.
Work as a system. Cognitive skills, perhaps.
I still think that it's A too for this one, because if your work system, it's a way that you use to learn. Some people, it's more used to work like this, some others no. I think it's more like an attitude.
Yeah, I can see your point. Ask for help when necessary.
I think it's A.
A. Cooperate with others. Is it the same idea? B. He worked independently. We have a lot of divergent answers, but it's okay. This is just the prep for our bigger discussion. When we think about this example of assessment, what is the correct column? Which is the main focus? I agree on 3 questions about reducing our use of paper. This task, is it communicative skills, cognitive skills, or practical skills? Why?
I would say communicative skills because students are working in collaboration, I think, to agree on something. So they need like to discuss and find a common answer. Yeah, find a common answer. Yeah. So for me, it's communicative skills.
More than one.
I'll give it a communicative and a practical skill. 2. Communicative and practical.
Could you help me understand why the practical?
Because we're giving them opportunity to practice the language. Practical skills on agreeing, disagreeing.
right?
Yeah.
Anybody else has a different opinion? I particularly would say it's communicative skills because they would have to agree, disagree, they would have to ask, talk, and also cognitive skills because they would have to stop and think about ways of reducing the use of paper. They have something they need to think clearly before anything else goes on. So I would choose these two. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Makes sense, right? Okay, I have another situation here. Draw a diagram to show where the ocean plates and the continental plates lie. Draw a diagram. Which skills would it be?
Practical and cognitive. Can be both.
Can be.
I agree with my, okay, I agree with her. I would say practical skills and cognitive skills.
So we see no communicative. Practical and cognitive and about is staying, right? The answer key is saying that communicative skills are present.
Yeah, but since you don't have to say anything, I don't know.
Yes, this is
Yes.
doesn't make sense for me.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
if draw diagram and to
yeah,
do a presentation about the
yeah,
ocean, then but it's just to draw. I can draw by
yeah.
myself here alone. I can draw a diagram. Not doesn't need to communicate with anyone about it.
You guys are on spot. We don't need to agree with this type of clear mistakes that the the website is showing. You have to maybe be sure, and if you need to contest the grade, you know your arguments because of that. Okay, but I agree with you. Communicative skills here wouldn't work. Yeah.
Okay, so only if it is something about like prehistory where people communicated by drawing,
But we're just
but we're not,
stretching,
we're not. Yeah, so
stretching out a
this,
little bit if we do that. One more.
I would say cognitive.
You have to say, take the reasons for the differences in the living standard between those in developed and those in developed areas of the world. Varying contrast.
I think there's cognitive and practical too, maybe, or just cognitive.
Cognitive. Would you include the other two?
Oh, since it's just taking, I would say only cognitive.
Okay, now let's go to the mock test to see if we can make it right regarding assessment. reasons behind the assessment, and all. You have 10 seconds to read the question, and after that, you can type in your answers on the chat, or you can open your mic and say your answer.
Okay.
Is everybody ready?
Yes.
For questions 1 to 5, look at the focus of assessment and 3 possible examples of assessment. There are 2 assessments here listed, A, B, or C. So focus and then examples. You have to do the matching. Choose the example which matches the focus of assessment. And let's go. Give you some time. You can answer it.
C.
Does everybody agree is letter C?
Yes.
Yeah. Don't you think maybe it's letter B? Opa. Lemon said it's letter B. Why, Lemon?
It's because you're completing we are asking you what do you know about the subject when we talk about flood. Let me just rephrase what I'm saying here. Computer science explain how you plan to revise the topic of no, sorry, it's a C. Definitely, I changed my mind.
Okay.
I didn't see this revise, right? Yes.
It is letter C, guys.
Because of this
Good
revise.
job.
Yeah.
Next one. You can answer it.
B.
Awareness of language structures by dumb to things. So leadership says.
I also agree it's B.
Great. So everybody
Because I
says
think when you
it's
have to
B.
circle something, I'm sorry.
Continue.
I think when you have to circle something, it means that you understood something. So to circle and understand and see these maybe in a text, that will be like a knowledge, like awareness. I don't know, I'm not sure, but I think it's B between these 3 options.
All right. Congratulations, you were right. All of you got the correct answer. And it is the reason why Camila Rolini says all those things.
Yes, I think it's because B, because of the indirect speech. Because the others you can write, but it's not judging if it's you're not assessing if it's right or wrong. If their opinion it's in the right grammar sense, but on the B, you need this.
Praise Caroline. We have two Carolines here. The next one. Can answer it. We are considering right?
B,
B. The first one, underline all the vocabulary which are similar to your L1. It's only vocabulary, it's only language. Draw a diagram of inside your computer. It's just content. And letter B is the vocabulary, and then there's the diagram to show everything. So content and language, letter B. Righty. And one last one. Okay.
C,
B. Okay. We had some people thinking it's letter A and some people thinking it's letter C. Why not letter C? Who can help me? People who got A. Why not C?
Because for me, A is more hands-on activity uh, than
Letter
C.
Letter C is just deciding
Yeah.
how you're going to present your
No.
I thought it was C because then the students are going to decide how it's going to work, which one. If the students know how to do it, I'm not telling them what to do. They will decide what practical they're going to use.
So the one that I think has practical is when they're going to work out its height. They're going to do something practical there. Not only measuring, not only going for the structure, the sculpture, but they are going to work it out. Yeah. Do you have any questions so far?
No.
So let me go to the other topic. It's a good one. Types of assessment. Assessment of learning and for learning. Volunteers, please. Who can help me?
For me, assessment of learning is like after the activity, and assessment for learning is something that you do throughout the process, like before, so you have like you know what to do in the future. Yeah.
Okay. Good insight. Anybody else would like to present something else? Okay. If we do this, summative and formative assessment. One is for learning and the other is of learning. Which one do you think belongs where?
Summative is assessment for learning, and formative is assessment. Oh no, yeah, no, I'm sorry. Summative is assessment of learning, and formative is assessment for learning.
Yes. So when we think about formative, summative assessments, then we go back here. Which one is summative? Which one is formative? It gets a little bit clearer in our minds. Yeah. But let's get to the point of, we have summative assessment as in standardized test, diagnostic test, formal, formative, and is often informal, daily, can be carried out during collaborative work, oral presentation, pre-presentation, self-assessment, need analysis, portfolio, assessment, many other things. Which ones do you think you do more in your school? Which one is the most important one?
For me, it's the formative because you're going to evaluate the process and you can check the weakness to work more next step.
What about parents? What type of assessment do they prefer?
Summative.
We always want test. And we as teachers know that that's not the best way to assess someone, especially kids learning a new language, right? So we want to increase the amount of formative assessment and decrease the amount of summative assessment. I have this table here. When do you use summative assessments? At the end of the lesson, unit, term, and course. In a formative, is ongoing, continuous throughout the academic year. How? The answers are written on paper or online by teachers or external examiner. Mas na formative, we have peer observation, peer correction, observing task performance, looking for evidence of learning, and why. Why summative is to give a qualification. To find out what learners know at a specific time and to find out strengths and weaknesses. But why do the formative? To understand how much and how well learners are progressing. To give feedback on learning and progression. And to identify support strategies needed and to find out what motivates learners. We need to have a little bit of both worlds. Some examples, diagnostic tests and standardized tests. And the other one is portfolio assessment or performance assessment. In your school, do you use a lot of formative assessment?
We use both in my school, but actually, my students they are from 2 to 4 years old. So I use only formative. I'm still not using summative, but the teachers of the older students, they use the other two.
Thank you for sharing. Can-do statements. Which type of assessment are can-do statements used for? Summative or formative? The student can do the present simple perfectly. This is an example of a can-do statement. Is this using summative or formative?
Formative, I think.
Can describe the main features, can measure, can classify. The verbs can do are often described as communicative and cognitive skills. So they have self-assessment, peer assessment. How do you recognize? Can do statement. This is taken from the Educate report card. And statements are for formative assessment. Students can do activities. It's not going to be a grade for that. It's just going to be sentences saying that that student achieved something, right? Let's go to the mock test.
Can you just wait for a while? Fine. Sure. And the other slide after this. No, the other, before. I think before this. One more. Not, okay, this one. Okay. Just to check something here. Okay, thank you.
So you have 10 seconds to answer. It's a matching activity. You have to match 1 to 5 and A to F. There is one extra option you do not need to use. So match the examples of assessment with the types of assessment. So number one, which one is the type of assessment? I'm going to give you some time. If you know the answer, you can complete.
Should we answer now? Okay, I will choose D.
Fleming thinks it's D. I want to know about you guys.
I don't know, A or C. I didn't understand very well.
Sit together. We have some people saying A. As example of assessment and then types of assessment. A cyclist rides at a steady speed along the road. The diagram below shows a force acting on the cyclist. Draw an arrow to show the direction of the force. Self-assessment of subject content. Is this saying that this person is the student doing, is the cyclist? I don't think so. It doesn't make a lot of sense saying that this is the student who is doing the self-evaluation.
Okay, so okay, I think that's a C.
Oh, yeah, and I thought it was like self-assessment was he's doing by its own its own, you know. That was like I understood.
Mhm.
For example, like a self-study. I don't know.
Okay, I can see that. Cyclists, remember the diagram. Let's see letter B. Peer assessment of content. You know that we can discard this one, right? There's no peer assessment. Summative assessment of subject content. What would it be the summative part? Let's go back to summative. Summative is assessing of learning. Summative are the strict way of evaluating with answers, with specific answers. And then we have here strict Assessment of subject content. Shows the force, throw a force, to direction of the force. This here is very self pointed and structured. In my case, my belief. Formative. Is it formative assessment? With portfolio or with different ways of assessing? I don't think so. Formative assessment of language. Is it talking about language? I think that's the thing.
No, it's only about content.
Only about content. So let's eliminate here. Self-assessment of content is possible. Here, letter B is language, not possible. Letter C, possible content, content and language, letter D, no. Language, no. Portfolio assessment, I would say no. So we are in between letter A and letter C, right? Do you agree that this is the cyclist is the one that are the subject of the sentence?
No, no, I think it's only letter C, I'm sure.
Yeah, I believe it's letter C. Okay, it can be tricky sometimes, these answers. And remember, you only have 1 minute to answer each questions. Need to eliminate.
Natalia, can you just clarify? I'm sorry. Natalia, please, can you just clarify a little bit what is this self-assessment? Can you give me an example?
Self-assessment is, I'm going to write a report. Student is writing a report, and he receives a manual from the teacher saying what are the best words to use in your composition. The student writes the text and then check with a guide of something. He's going to do the self-assessment to say if my work was according to what the teacher asked. It's basically that.
Thank you.
Was it clear?
Yes, thank you.
Now I have here a different example. After the investigation, complete this form. I can do a fair test using different materials. Yes, quite well, or no. I can draw a diagram of the experience and label it. I can explain what I would change if I did the experiment again. This is what you have to do the matching.
This is self-assessment, I think.
This is A.
This is A.
Yes, this is A.
Everybody agrees with that?
I think this is easy, right?
Yes.
Yes. It's letter A. Any questions here?
No.
Let's go to the next one.
Appear.
I'm confused. It's supposed to be this number, right?
Yes.
It is letter
Letter F.
sketches, which shows good use of shading. Write a sentence saying why. Put in a folder of these terms work. This is them planning a portfolio. Okay, I skipped a line here. That's why the answers were showing. I'm sorry. But the next one is possible to do it.
Okay.
This can be peer assessment. Me,
I agree too.
I agree too. It's B.
There's
Yeah, it's
a
B.
really big uh, portion of the word, right? Make, the shape, materials, think you can describe in your group, in your group. So yeah, it's peer assessment, right? You guys are doing great. I have just another part to go through. We can be done with our debate. Hopefully you guys are enjoying our discussions. Just a moment. How you could support learners through assessment. We can do accommodations, modifying, and then it turns out it's accommodations. And what strategies are those? Allowing some additional time, adapting tasks, allowing some use of L1, simplifying instructions, paraphrasing, writing additional examples as models. These are ways you can accommodate students. Imagine you are in the Information and Communication Technology Center and you say to your 14-year-old students, you have half an hour to decide 3 databases with related files. What do you think the problem might be with this instruction? Would you use any of these to help the students?
Providing additional examples or model.
Back. This is a very difficult task for them to do. Half an hour to design 3 databases. So you should at least give some additional time, right? Additional examples are really important because they don't know how to make this tree database and the related files. So we need to consider this, even if it's in our books, even if it's in the teacher's guide, we have to consider our students' needs, have to think about it. So we have to do some adaptations in order for them to finish their activity, right? So I have here the language used in the instruction is too difficult. I have an example of how the instruction was. Perhaps, or simplify, paraphrase or simplify language, add a model example of what learners have to do or write. And during, read instructions aloud twice, explain instructions more simply, explain instructions in L1. We have procedures to do before making the life of our students easier, and then we have during activities to do that. Okay. These strategies don't mean that the teachers do the work for the learners, but we should help the learners do the work by themselves. Okay. I'm going to give another example. Learners have a low level of written English. Help me out here. What do you think should be the supported strategy for reading?
A glossary?
Yes.
I start sentence. I don't know what's the name. I guess it's when you start the sentence to help them to write down.
Sentence start,
The use of a dictionary, maybe.
maybe. Anything else?
Maybe give some examples of structures that you are expecting them to write, to use.
Okay, good contributions. I have here, provide visuals, reduce the amount of writing at word and sentence level. So try to reduce the amount of words. Design, matching, label, numbering, circling, gap fill tags. This is what you did before. And design questions with closed responses to help them say yes or no when you are exploring the text. And during, giving encouragement and allow the use of glossaries. That's what some of you mentioned here. All right.
Can you go back? Can you go back a little?
Cleared this.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
Perfect. For questions 1 to 5, look at the situations and the 3 supportive strategies listed, A, B, or C. 2 of the supportive strategies are appropriate. 1 of the supportive strategies is not. I want to know the strategy that is not the correct one. Pay attention to that, not the correct one. So which supported strategy is not appropriate? Are you going to give me 2 answers saying they support strategies? Yes or no?
Okay.
You're going to give me two answers to the correct options. Oh, you're going to give me one answer that is the incorrect one. Ready?
Yes.
You can answer it.
Percent they could service restrictions. A and B. No, which is and C.
Why C?
Because using some codes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because of using code is not supporting, because supporting if they are working in mixed ability, it means those who know can teach those who don't. So this is another supporting strategy, because the weaker one may get benefits from the stronger one. And the B, you give them dictionary to check. It's to support them with materials, with the necessary means in order to achieve.
Okay. If I have here a group presents their project using some code switching. Code switching is switching between Portuguese and English, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it would be easier for them to, to present when they are able to use two languages.
Mm-hmm.
And I have here, make sure these students, these learners are working in mixed ability groups. You just said it. Students who are weaker and stronger together. But hand out dictionary for these learners to use. In what way would using a dictionary help them present the history projects using a PowerPoint? Isn't it more difficult?
Maybe if they need a word in the context, they can check it there to see if this word, this vocabulary can be used in the context of the presentation.
The correct answer is letter B. This would
Wow.
be not the most productive option for this case.
Okay. Thank you.
Next, you're almost done. You can answer it. Remember which one is not appropriate. Okay, most of you said letter C. And it is letter C. Congratulations. So to wrap up, I'd like to show you once again the book that I use for our discussions, our mock tests, and the link for you to get your certificate is here.
Can you go back? Can you go back to other? The previous one.
This.
Ah, okay. Website. Okay. Wait. A moment. Just a moment. Just to put it here.
Natalia, can you go back one, please? I need to need the link, please.
Need the link.
Yes, I'll take up. I will write. I'm writing the link because my chat is not working, so I cannot use. Thank you.
I'm going to put in the chat anyway. Don't forget to answer it because your certificate will be available through this link. You will receive the certificate by email later tonight, later tomorrow.
Okay.
If you have any further questions, you can ask me here right now, or you can contact your academic advisor. It has been a pleasure